Welcome to the workshop. Now today I'm going to be making something which a lot of people ask me about, which are these Mosaic pins that I use for the handles of my knives. So they're relatively easy to make, so I think we shall just make some. So let's start with the kind of stuff that we're going to need to make our pins.
So you're going to need some pin stock and tubes. I get mine from a local model supply shop. Some plastic tubing. Something to pull the epoxy through the pins. Now I use this pump which is designed to bleed the brakes of motorcycles. Some epoxy resin. In this case I'm using the West Systems marine grade epoxy. And finally something to colour the epoxy, so I'm using some iron oxide powder. Now this is the fun bit, so you're really going to take some time, just experiment with the tubing and pins and just play around to see what patterns you like. Once you're happy with the pattern, it's important to degrease all of the rods and tubing. I've skipped that step here, but it's easy as wiping with some acetone or Windex. I then like to place some plastic tube on the end of each rod and attach that to the small hand pump. Then mix up some epoxy and add just a pinch of iron oxide. Now a little goes a long way, but then you need to really stir everything up. Using the pump as a siphon, I start to suck up the epoxy really slowly. After a few seconds you'll start to see the epoxy coming out of the other end of the pin stock. I then remove everything from the epoxy and just clamp up each end to avoid any run out. Now this can be quite messy, so make sure you've got everything at hand before you start the job. Then let the epoxy cure and harden overnight. Once everything is hardened, I like to touch up the ends on my bench grinder. This reveals the finished pins. Now you can get quite creative with pins, and here are just a few of the designs which I've finished recently.